All right, y'all. I am super excited to have today's guest on the show. It's not every day I have royalty on the Professional Homegirl podcast. Lisane, how are you? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'm doing so well, Eboné. Thank you so much. I'm doing good. I'm doing okay.
Okay. Well, first off, we have to start the show off by saying congratulations on your day. What is it? February 25th, Black History Month, Lisane Basquiat Day.
Yes,
How does that feel
yeah.
for you?
You know, it feels surreal. I
Mhm.
was shocked at the recognition and at the acknowledgement, and also felt very humbled and honored that I'd be um, uh, recognized in that way. And it's a month later, and I'm still feeling very humbled by it, to be honest.
And how
Yeah.
cool is that? You have a day in Black History Month.
Oh no, to have a day period other than my
Right.
birthday. I am just, yeah, yeah.
Right. So now you have 2 days.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I
Okay.
actually have 365
Well,
days a
come on
year.
now.
You
Right.
know, I have 365, and two of them are more public days.
Right. Right.
My birthday and the proclamation day. But yeah, it feels pretty good. I'm very excited about it.
Now, when you reflect on all of your work, both in the spotlight and behind the scenes, what do you think that recognition truly represents?
Oh, you're coming right out with the great questions. I think
Listen, I have to get my
it.
Oprah on with you. Okay. I worked hard to get to this moment.
I think it represents all of the work that I've done, and the all of the work that I've done over the years to really be very serious
Mhm.
about my life and about my time on this planet. And by serious, I don't mean serious without the smile. I mean to be very honored and to take the assignment of this lifetime seriously.
Yeah. When you think about your parents, your father's discipline and your mother's creativity, how do you see them reflected in the woman you become? Because I feel like this could be kind of like a full circle moment for you.
Yeah, it is. Well, what I got from my parents was the best that they had to give. And
Mm,
I've been able to take the good, take the wonderful things that I want to bring forward, like my father's
hmm
strong, strong work ethic, his
hmm
confidence, his problem-solving ability and ability to take the things that he was confronted with and the things that came to him and to find a way out of no way. And
hmm
from my mother, I was able to get just the softness of her spirit. My mother
Yeah.
was a very kind woman. She was a very um, heart-centered human being
hmm
who loved art, who loved creativity, who loved theater and museums and culture. And I think that between what I've been able to get from both of them was really a beautiful, beautiful mix that I didn't fully appreciate until much later in my life, but am very blessed and happy to have had.
Yeah. In what ways did being first generation create both pressure and pride in your household?
Oh wow, girl, I don't know if you know what the first generation thing is like.
I already know.
But
My friends tell me all the time.
let me tell you, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of what I heard a lot was, in my country, we did it this way. And I also heard
Right.
a lot, I also heard a lot of my father's story about the resilience that he had in coming to this country as a very young man from another country, speaking a completely different language
hmm
with a different climate and a different culture, and what
hmm
it took for him to acclimate to this country and also to forge his own path here in this country. And so, as a
Yeah.
first generation, for me, it was really living a parallel life and culture in many ways, because at home, that was kind of the thing. And then I was born in Brooklyn. I grew up in
Come
Brooklyn.
on,
And,
Brookline.
come on now. And, so I grew up in Brooklyn and, Brooklyn has a culture of its own. And so I always felt in some way, which I think has helped me in the work that I do today and the
Yeah.
sensibility that I have about the world, it helped to give me a really well-rounded, forgiving,
Hmm.
and inclusive lens through which to view the world and to view
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a lot of listeners from New York, so we gotta do a New York conversation right quick. What part of Brooklyn did you grow up
Brooklyn.
in?
So initially in Flatbush, on 35th Street, right off of Beverly Road, right between Beverly and
Oh
Cotillia, East 35th, between Beverly and
wow.
Cotillia is where,
Yes.
where we were at first, and then later on Borum Hill.
And then what high school did you go to?
Brooklyn Tech.
Okay, okay. And did you go to college in New York?
I went to City College. I went to NYU for part of it, and I did it
Hmm.
as an adult, and I was paying for college by myself, and it was expensive because at the
Right.
time I didn't work. I didn't work somewhere where it was covered, and so I paid for it out of pocket as a single mother for a
Oh
while, and
wow.
then did the second half of it through City College of New York. An amazing, amazing academic experience.
Yeah, you miss New York?
I'm in New York all the time. I do not miss New York. Let me tell you, okay? I love New York. I
Yeah,
love
me
New
too.
York, okay? And I live on the West Coast now, and so I'm bi-coastal. I go back and forth. What I love
Hmm.
about the West Coast is that things aren't that serious. I can kind of go outside in my pajamas and nobody cares, you know?
Right.
Right. And I love that. I love the softness of that. I also love the fact that I can be around nature, which is very important to me. But
Hmm.
I get back to New York and there's nothing, it is like no other city in the
There's no
world.
place like New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
No place. My grandma used to always say, the city's so nice, they named it twice.
That's right. That's right. I don't miss New York because I'm there so often, but during the pandemic, I was gone for 13 months. And when I
Mm.
got back to New York, I got to tell you, the first person that yelled at me and cursed me out in the streets, I was like, yeah.
Yeah. It
I
feels
missed y'all.
good. Right.
And back to you. It's good to be able to kind of like pull that grit out because
Oh
the thing
my
about
God.
the thing about New York is that you fall and you can fall on the street
Hmm.
and they will tell someone will walk up, a stranger on the street will walk up and start picking you up. They'll tell
Hmm.
you that you're stupid for not paying attention to the crack of the street while they're picking you up, but they will pick you
Right?
up, dust you off, put your
Tough
purse back
love.
on your shoulder, and send you on
Hmm.
your way. So yeah, shout out to New York. I love it.
I know, I know. Oh, so next time you come back home, I gotta take you out.
Oh, I'm there all the time, girl. Don't tell me. Don't listen.
Don't
I
tease
will
you with a
give,
good time.
don't tease me with a good time because I'll be in
Right.
it.
Now, before the world knew your brother, John Michelle, you knew him as your brother. So
Yeah.
what was he like growing up? Because from the research I did, I feel like he was like a little prankster.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. He was a prankster. He was super curious and loved knowledge and
Hmm.
also loved to, he was a scientist of sorts. And so he really
Yeah.
loved to put things together and see what could work and what wouldn't work and what he could, what trouble he can get into. I mean, that was the result of it. But I think what was informing him was the desire to learn and
No.
to try things out and experiment.
Hmm. So how did you and your siblings support each other in shaping your identities and ambitions? Like, did y'all ever have conversations of what y'all wanted to be or who you want to be when you was growing up?
Nope.
Mm.
Sorry. Now I'm just giving you a hard time. No, no, we didn't talk specifically about that,
Right.
but we always knew who we were and we always supported each other in whatever it was that was going on. I mean, for us, the conversation wasn't like we didn't sit around as children saying,
Hmm.
you are going to become the most prolific painter in the world, right?
Right.
And you are going to do this other thing and you're gonna have an interest in human behavior and express it through shaping freedom. But we were always who we were. So the conversations that we had were always around creativity for my sister and my brother, you know, the way my sister saw the world
Hmm.
and the experiences and thoughts that I had about the ways that people interact with each other.
I love when you and your sister do interviews together because I can just tell that when she's telling a story, it's like for you, it's like painting a picture. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't know that. And then you
Mm-hmm.
chime in and then she'll give you the same look of admiration and stuff. And I'm like, that is so cool.
My sister and I vibe off each other for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
tell.
yeah.
Now, you always talk about how your father played such a central role in your upbringing. So, how did being raised primarily by him shape how you saw the world at such a young age?
You know, for when I was younger, it bothered me because I didn't see my life anywhere outside of my home. I didn't know a lot of,
Mm,
there are a couple of things that were very different about our life. So we grew up in a brownstone in Brooklyn in Boerum Hill. Our father was an immigrant from another country. That was not the case for a lot of people that I was around.
right.
Um, we were raised by him and not with our mother in the household, which was very different and was very
Hmm.
challenging as a young girl growing up to not have your mother in the house. But what it did was it helped me as a young person and then later as an adult to have had that experience of not just having my father in the home, but
Hmm.
having him be the central figure, central uh, parenting
Hmm.
figure in my home. And so that was very different, I think, than the experience that a lot of my friends had. So I got to know my father
Hmm.
very closely. I got to really experience him as a parent, as a father, as a man, as a
Mm,
black man, and as someone who's acclimating, excuse me, to a new culture. So I think it really shaped me. It also shaped my confidence in myself.
yeah.
Yeah, and it also shaped my unwavering determination to and belief in myself that whatever it is, what I set my mind to do, I can actually do.
Mm,
And without worrying about or overthinking how that might fit into the reality that someone else has for me.
yeah. When I was doing research on your family, I really grew a soft spot for your dad. And the reason why I did is because I think one of the biggest misconceptions about your family is the nature of his relationship with your brother.
Hmm.
And when I was doing my research, um, I realized that your father, he experienced a lot of loss because if I'm not mistaken, his father and his brother were killed or they died or something. It's like when they was in Haiti.
In Haiti, right before my father got here, which was a big part of the reason why my grandmother allowed him to come here at 18 years old.
Right. And I feel like he was on his journey of pursuing
That's
his
right.
and shaping his own freedom, which is so funny because the name of your podcast is called Shaping Freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
So knowing everything that you know about what your father carried with him when it comes to the grief and the sacrifice and the resilience, how do you think that shaped the way he fathered all of y'all?
I think my father, like any other parent,
Mm-hmm.
why you wind up learning how to you wind up learning how to parent yourself
Mm-hmm.
in parallel with the experience of parenting your children.
Right.
And what you wind up doing, whether you choose to show up for the opportunity or not, is having this opportunity to reconcile your childhood. And so for
Mm-hmm.
my father specifically, Gerard Basquiat is his name. Um, for my father specifically, he came to this country at a relatively young age. And so that meant that he was here in this country, in a foreign country, by himself
Yeah. But no blueprint.
and with no blueprint. So he had to create the blueprint himself
Mm-hmm.
and decide how he was going to move forward. And then you have children, and fortunately or unfortunately, you don't really recognize that you are walking a journey in parallel with another human being that you bring into the world
Mm-hmm.
while you're still trying to figure out yourself.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I'm a parent. I'm a grandmother today,
Oh, you're a
and
grandmother?
I am. Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Y'all, she don't look like grandma.
Yes, I am. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that I recognize and didn't recognize as fully until I became a parent myself.
Mm,
So while you're thinking about, well, I wanted to do this and now I'm in court, I really always wanted to be a teacher and social work. And for me at the time, social work meant something different than what it really means. For
mm-hmm.
me, it was, I care about the world. I care about our society and why are women put into this box? Like why,
Mm-hmm.
for a woman who chooses to be at home or to be a housewife or to do that, that's a wonderful thing. And she has the right to do that. And for a woman who chooses to do that and also live her own dreams, why is that so challenging? And what is it that a person has to do to unlock within themselves the ability to be able to stand in with a foot in two different worlds
Right.
in order to be whole for
Mm-hmm.
herself and in order to have a positive relationship with herself. And we do all of that work while we're showing up for children.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. And I think that sometimes we underestimate how a lot it truly, truly is. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, sitting here, I look at my ancestors that include at this point my father and my brother and my mother, Matilda Basquiat, my grandparents.
Mm.
And I look at at the decisions that they made and some of the decisions that they believed that they had to make, all while taking care of other people.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's a huge journey, and I think that we humans can give ourselves a little bit of grace and a break.
Yeah. You have such a beautiful voice. Anybody told you that?
Thank you.
I feel like it is like so soothing. Like I'm like trying to pay attention, but I'm like, oh my God, her voice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of
No,
course. But no,
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 I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say, I think the whole thing is, I think that we believe that we're supposed to do things in a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and then life steps in. And so you did make mention of my father's grief, and going back to that for a moment, and I appreciate the fact that you brought that up because
Mm-hmm.
what happened is, and what happened with him happens with any parent that loses their child.
Mm-hmm.
And losing a child and having any aspect of that very personal and intimate pain
Mm-hmm.
in a public way just exacerbates the entire situation. So, what my father and my mother wound up doing is experiencing the loss of their son, their oldest child, while also stepping in to make sure that my son that my brother's interests were taken care of because he was the artist that he was, while also having two other children
Mm-hmm.
that he had to parent and continue to go through life with. And so that is grief while living. That's
Yeah.
incredible pain while living. And it's also the challenge of doing all of that while having people, the
Mm-hmm.
public, have opinions about it and also genuinely love and respect and honor your child. So that is not an easy journey to walk. And it wasn't easy for him, nor was it easy for my mom. And it certainly is challenging for my sister and I.
Yeah, I'm jumping ahead, but that was definitely one of my questions when I was doing my research on you. And I'm not gonna say no names, but y'all was on a particular show, and this person was being very insensitive with the questions. And I could
Mm,
tell you gave a look, and so did your sister. And I'm like, oh, they holding back. But I feel like a lot of times people forget the family or the human behind the
hmm.
legacy.
Yeah, they do. I think people forget the family behind the legacy. And I think that people also forget that this is my brother
Right.
who passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy sometimes to, or let me restate that. I think people do forget. Most people are so excited about the profound impact that Jean-Michel has had on their lives that they just want to get that out.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what has helped is to gently remind people, what it is, the space that they're actually stepping into. Now,
Mm-hmm.
my sister and I are not the only siblings to have lost a sibling. We're not the only women to have lost a sibling.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very unique experience, and it
Mm.
changes the course of the way that you interact, even with your parents, because your parents become very delicate
Yeah.
because they're going through
For
incredible
obvious
grief
reasons.
for
Right.
obvious reasons. And so, as a child, in that, even if you're an adult, because I was 24 years old when Jean-Michel
Mm.
passed away, and my sister was 21, um, you step differently. You do, and I think that there are times that people are a little insensitive, and I remind them,
Oh, I saw.
with love,
I saw.
respectfully,
Right.
respectfully and with love. And most people get that, and they are apologetic, or they hear it, and some people don't. And then, I'm from Brooklyn, I can get my point across.
Yeah. Oh, I saw. You gave the first look. I said, there she go. I said, that's what I'm talking about, big sis. Let
Let
them
me
know.
tell you, that helped me though. I see something positive in every single experience. When I got it, when that was over, I was
Oh, you know
like,
what I'm talking about?
yeah, of course I do. I was like, oh, we did that.
Yeah.
Okay. That was, it's done. So it happened once,
Mhm.
and it helped Shanine and I both, I think, to know what we're made of. And
Yeah.
it was okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Do you? I can't stop laughing because I was literally just watching that interview, and I was talking to my cousin because he loved everything about your family's legacy, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know why he did that," and he started using colorful language, and I'm like, "
Hmm.
calm down." I was like, they handled it with grace, like they did their thing.
No, he was cutting up. That was unnecessary.
Yeah,
But it's
definitely.
okay. But it's okay.
Hmm.
It happens.
Now, did your brother ever have a moment where he felt like he made it, especially in your father's eyes? Like, did they ever have that moment when your father was able to see, like, okay, I see it now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it happened along the way. Things don't always happen in that kind of like boys in the hood moment, right? Like
Right.
sometimes it's just like, going to an opening, or seeing the look on someone's face, or seeing something beautiful that they
Hmm.
created. I think that Jean-Michel has left a legacy both during his lifetime and after, that creates this feeling of awe and respect
Hmm.
in the people who view what he's created. So I know they had their moments where my father was really afraid. And he's like, "What do you mean you're going to be walking around with dreadlocks in your hair and you're going to be a painter?" Like my father was like, "You better go and become an accountant or a lawyer or something."
Right.
Get your white picket fence and get it together.
Like, you want to do
You,
what?
you want to do what? But and that is the situation that confronts a lot of fathers and sons with
Hmm.
their fathers, where it's like, my father had this diligence and this determination and this strength, and what he got confronted with was the mirror of
Mm.
the diligence, the work ethic, the strength, but they were headed in two different directions. But the behaviors and the things that drove my brother were the very same things that drove my father. So in
Hmm.
terms of success and the realization of a dream, they both had a recipe for doing that, and then had their unique spin on it. So yes, they had lots of moments where my father had to admit or acknowledge that my brother's path, that my brother knew was his path, was indeed the path for him.
Oh, that's exactly what I have in my notes. I feel like your father was his blueprint, but just in a different form.
Absolutely. But people don't always recognize that, right? Like you look
Right.
at a lot of, parents, when there's a parent and a child, adult or otherwise,
Hmm.
that is running into conflict. I think that if we can take a step beneath the story, a step beneath the thing that people are arguing back and forth about and go a couple of layers underneath, we can almost always find there's a commonality there. There's a common
Exactly.
intention there. And what
Hmm.
we fight with our parents or our children about is mostly about the how, the way they choose to do the
Hmm.
thing. It's not the what, but we focus on the what, and
Exactly.
we stay at the what,
Hmm.
and then we walk away, never getting to the place where we can really acknowledge we focus on the what, and we don't versus the how.
Exactly. And I
Yeah,
always say when I'm praying for certain things, I focus on the what. I let God worry about the how.
exactly.
Because we get so
Exactly.
caught up in the how, and then next thing you know, nothing's moving. Like just focus on what you're supposed to focus on and keep
That's
it
right.
moving. Hmm.
That's right. And both my brother, Jean-Michel Basquiat, and my father, 𝐼𝐸 Basquiat. I don't know if you went to the exhibition, the King Pleasure exhibition or not.
No, I missed it. Oh, I know, but I'm not missing the next one. And I got a direct
Okay,
line to the family. So
we're
I
not
couldn't,
we're not doing that one again. But I will
but
say
something else
that
coming, right?
always. But what
Okay.
I will say is that there's a page from my father's address book when he was very, very young, and it says,
Mm,
I'm going to be a successful American businessman,
mm,
right? And that was his proclamation. And that's what he went to go do. And my brother did the same thing about becoming a prolific and incredible artist. And so I think the lesson in that for all of us is get clear about what it is that you want, get clear
mm.
about the what, and then figure out the how. So they have to work with each other. Be clear about why you want it, first of all, then get clear about what it is that you want, and then work through the how. And if you do
Yeah,
that, the things we want actually can happen and manifest.
that's a fact. That is a
Mm-hmm.
fact. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not missing the next one. She gave me a side eye, y'all, for the listeners.
Say
I'm
that,
not,
what side eye?
I'm not missing the next exhibit I was beating myself up.
We're not doing that exhibition anymore. We did it. We did LA. We did New York. We did LA.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
whenever a new exhibit comes, I'm not missing it. I'm gonna be right there
Okay. Okay.
between you and your sister hugging y'all like I'm a part of the family.
That's okay. Come
Now,
on.
I feel like another misconception of Jean-Michel is that he would have had a problem with the Tiffany exhibit or the ad with Beyonce and Jay-Z, but I don't feel like he would have had a problem with that because your brother loved luxury.
My brother loved luxury. Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. From what perspective do you think that people believe that he would have a problem with it?
I just feel like it was a lot of noise that people were always talking about how they didn't agree with with his artwork being associated with Tiffany and Jay-Z and Beyonce and things of that nature. But I'm like, why? Like, this is the man that used to wear Armani suits. Like, I don't
You mean
understand.
the man who wore Armani suits, who drank sake, who
Rode around in limousines.
had a Le Creuset before. I mean, come on now. I think that that people do say that there are those comments, and I and my sister try to focus on the 85 or 90% of the other
Right.
comments. And there are always people who step in and say, his, he wouldn't agree with this or he wouldn't agree with that. And the truth of the matter is that if you understand the that things take money,
Yeah.
and that Jean-Michel loved find things, and he had a really good time, and he enjoyed his time on this planet, and he did with his money what he chose to do with his money,
As he should.
as he should. And just like there's a Tiffany thing, and maybe there's some people who disagree with that, it's okay because it's not their decision to make. But
Mm-hmm.
there are also just, we also have um, we've also done deals and licensing deals with other companies. Our goal is to make Jean-Michel's artwork accessible. And so we have done that
Mm-hmm. Now, if both your father and Jean-Michel were here today, what kind of conversations do you think they would be having?
with each other.
Yeah.
I think they'd be having the same conversations, Eboné, that any father and son would have.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd be talking about the world. I think they'd be talking about what's happening in the world, what's happening in this country, they'd be talking about um, popular culture for sure,
Yeah.
because we talked a lot about that. We grew up talking about popular culture and, about film and music and um, art and all of those things. And I think those conversations would have continued and evolved into wherever they were going to evolve to.
Hmm. Now, as a Black man in art, do you know if people ever question Jean-Michel's greatness? And the reason why I ask is because I feel like oftentimes when Black people aren't allowed to be great, like everything has to be justified or it has to be a reason. Like it just can't be pure talent.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I think he was if you've seen any of the interviews that were done, he was constantly challenged and his patience was constantly tested because he was people wanted to put him into a box. And if you know anything at all about Jean-Michel Basquiat, he's not going to be
Hmm.
put into a box. And so
Yeah.
people would say things like, he was a Black artist. And they wouldn't say that as a way of honoring him. They would say it as a way of, he's an artist, but he's Black and he's
Right.
Black. And he was not happy about that. And there are actually a few interviews where he pushed back and said, no, I'm just an artist.
Hmm.
I'm just an artist. Because when you look at the magnificence that is Jean-Michel Basquiat, you forget, like, you look at his art and it's like, this is an incredible artist amongst
Hmm.
all artists
Right.
from all places and all times. He's an incredible, incredible artist.
Hmm.
So yes, he struggled with that quite a bit, or other people struggled. I mean, he didn't struggle, he knew who he was,
Right.
but he did confront people who wanted to put him into a box or people who chose to um, express their racism in his face.
Yeah. How has your relationship with your mother influenced how you show up in relationships today?
Um, my relationship with my mother was, that's a good question, Ebony. My
Thank you.
relationship with
Listen, little Oprah.
my relationship with my mother was
Hmm.
a really beautiful one. I saw my mother every weekend. I was in contact with my mother all the time. And it wasn't until I had my son Joseph that I got to really sit down and confront my mother with the loss and abandonment at the time that I
Mm.
felt at the time, not having grown up in the home with my mother. Again, like I said before, I knew of people who grew up without their father in the house, but I
Right.
didn't know anyone who grew up without their mom. And
Hmm.
so I was very angry and I was very confused and I felt very hurt by that. And when my mother and I finally had the opportunity to sit down and really talk about it, what I commend my mother for and what my mother modeled for me as a mother and as a woman today is how to stand and to take accountability
Mm.
for the decisions, to take responsibility and accountability for the decisions that were made. And so I remember going to her and talking to her about all the things that I experienced. And what my mother would say to me that I didn't fully understand at the time, or that frustrated me at the time,
Right.
was, I did that because I believed that that was the right thing for you kids. And it was.
Mm.
She didn't back down off of her decision. She didn't make excuses for her decision. She allowed me to sit in the truth of her decision and allowed me to sit in the truth of what her decision did to me or how I was impacted by the truth of her decision, and to truly, truly process that
Hmm.
versus versus allowing me to try to make her make it better for me, although it already happened.
Right.
And that took incredible courage on her part
Hmm.
and incredible love to allow me to sit in the truth of that. And so that, coupled with um, not having grown up in a home with my mother, uh, and having grown up under some of the circumstances that I did, being different, feeling different, and all
Mm-hmm.
that, um, it has helped me to have more grace for people. It's also helped me to see the world outside of the mainstream kind of, we can only think these three things, right? If we
Right.
don't think these three things, if we don't sign up for these three ideals, we're not Black, we're not people, we don't belong. You know,
Right.
it really helped me to see through the facade of that and to be more inclusive, more welcoming, more understanding, and more forgiving of
Yeah.
humans, because humans just human.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just, you know.
That's so funny you said that because I'm in a exact situation with my father. I never met my father, but we have been trying to build a relationship for 1,000 years now. And finally, I'm just at a place. I'm like, you know what? Let me just meet this man where he's at. Like, we
Yeah.
already here now. There's no need to have let the past be the past. And I believe that since I'm allowing him to just be a man and to be honest about his shortcomings, because my father has always struggled with drugs, it has taught me compassion.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
has. And I didn't think that someone who has hurt me and who was never in my life can teach me that. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And that's something that I've been sharing with my listeners. Just you got to give people grace and you got to meet them where
Yeah.
they at.
Can I say something else about that?
Mm-hmm.
So my mother struggled with mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
and that just exacerbated the entire thing for me. And I think that the thing that really helped, and I will say this, by the time my mother passed away in 2008, and for a good 10, 15 years before that, my mother and I enjoyed the best relationship, Eboné,
Mm.
the best. And the reason why we were able to enjoy the best relationship, the closest relationship, was because we lived in a space of accepting
Mm.
life for what it was, not for what I wanted it to
Wanted to
be.
be.
Because
Yes.
sometimes if you're in this situation with a parent or with anyone and you go into it never accepting what is, that's where
Mm-hmm.
the pain comes. The pain comes in when we resist the truth. But when I was
Exactly.
able to say, I grew up without my mother in my house. When
Mm-hmm.
I had, when I got my period, I didn't have a mother. When I, you know, met my first boyfriend and had that
Right.
situation, I didn't have the softness of my mother to tell me and guide me through that. I see all these other people who had the mother with the
Mm-hmm.
apron, the mama who would bring them into their bosom. I
Making
didn't have
cookies.
that. Making
Right.
cookies and stuff. I didn't have that.
Right.
Right. But when I was willing, when I got to the point where I was willing to truly live in the truth of
Mm.
what happened and to accept it and not resist it, even though there were parts of that story that I wished had been different or would have wanted to have been different, it opened up a completely different door to
Mm.
the ability for my mother and I to enjoy a real, true friendship. We were not going to go back to, and we had it out with that too, where she was, I remember one day, if I do I have a moment to tell you a quick
Yeah, go ahead, go
story?
ahead. You got all the time in the world.
So my mother was this is after I had Joseph. My mother had come to babysit, and so I was like, I'm gonna try this out and see, whatever. And so she was babysitting, taking care of Joseph is what she was doing, my son.
Mm-hmm.
And she was at my house for the weekend. And so at the time I was working at night, and so she would come during the week and stay with me so that I could go work at night, and she was at home with Joseph during the day while I was sleeping, and at night
Mm-hmm.
while I was at work. Anyway, I remember coming in one day and my mother was sitting on the couch, and Ebony, she was sitting there with that look that a parent has when you have done something wrong. And I walked in and I'm like, hey, whatever. And what's going on? And she says, and she takes these three photos and she throws them on the table. And I looked at the photos, and I had taken these photos. These are photos I took with my boyfriend. Let me just say that. Okay.
Child. Because I'm like, what type of photos were they?
And I looked at her and I said, what? And she says, what is that? And I said, well, they're what they look like. The bigger question is, where'd you get it?
Right.
And she says, oh, I just got them. They were in your room. I said, oh, yeah, they were in my room, in my drawer, underneath everything on the bottom, which means you were looking through my
Do my
stuff. What
stuff.
were you doing?
Right.
Right. And so, we kind of went back and forth for a couple of minutes about that. And then I looked at her and I just said, listen, can you not try? Like, you don't have to make up for the fact that you weren't there when I was
Mm.
younger, right? This feels like an old kind of thing because I was at this point, I lived by myself. I had my own apartment. I had my own kid. I was, grown.
You were grown,
And
right.
I was grown, or I thought I was grown. So at that point, so then what it helped both of us, I think, to realize is you can't go back.
Hmm.
You can only move forward. You can accept each other for where you are. You can accept the situation that you're in. You can forgive each other and you can only move forward. And so,
Hmm.
us being able to do that, me not trying to get her to be my mommy when I was 6 again, and
Hmm.
her not trying to get me to be 6 years old so she could be my mommy, really helped us to get to know each other as humans, to get to know each other as women, and
Hmm.
then later to get to know each other as in our roles of as parent,
Hmm.
even though they were so unconventional.
I'm going to have a real honest moment because I want to ask you a question. Is it hard? Was it hard for you to tell your mother you love her? And the reason why I'm asking you that is because my father, I think he's trying to live and have those moments with me. And I'm like, we passed that. Like, I'm pushing 40 now. Like, I think right now you just need to meet me where we at and let's build a relationship. And I feel like he's always telling me, which I understand, and because I am his child and I'm his only child. So he expresses his love, but it has been really difficult for me to say, I love you back.
Because you haven't forgiven him. And as long as you haven't forgiven him, if I can,
Yeah.
as long as you haven't forgiven him, you're holding that tension within your own mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual body. And so
Mm.
the reason, so it could be that you believe that, or let me ask you this question. Why not tell him you love him?
I don't know. I just can't say it. Like, and sometimes I want to say it. Like, it's like it just won't come out.
Do you not want to let him off the hook?
I feel like I did already. Like, we talk every day. Like, I feel like I'm being very receptive towards him. Like, even when he has his moments or his shortcomings, like, I'm okay with it. Like, because I feel like I cannot have any expectations if I want to have a relationship with you. So, but for some reason, I just can't say it. And then he'll be like, I love you. Or he'll call me my middle name, Tiara. I love you, Tiara. Like, I miss you, this and that. And I just like, okay, that's nice to know. And I feel so horrible, but I just can't say it.
Have you forgiven him?
Yeah, I have. I have, I promise. I really have. Like, I feel like we've been
Have you
trying to,
forgiven him in here? Like, have you forgiven him enough that you can look at this man, that you can take the glasses off, the lens through which you see him, and just as Eboné, look at this person as another human being? Have you forgiven him that much?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
so.
Okay. I think sometimes when we've been hurt,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to be vulnerable
Mm.
toward the person because we kind of build up a wall. Or maybe the truth is that you don't.
Mm. Well, I guess I'll keep y'all posted.
I think keep us posted on that, but I think that if you because you didn't say I really have it here and I'm holding it back. It's like you have made a decision that you don't want to do that right now. And I think that giving yourself grace because you've experienced something here too,
Yeah.
right? You experienced something. and you experience something both because he wasn't there and both because of the challenges that he was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes time, you know, and I think that that's not something that you can force upon your child.
Oh, exactly.
You
And I
can't
feel
force
like
that upon
sometimes
her.
it's
Yeah.
force. It's
You
like it's
cannot
so.
force that. Yeah,
Mm,
you have to come to a place when you get to the point where it's like, okay, those things happen. We can't go back in time. We have to build a relationship from here. And so for him, it's not living through the guilt, maybe. I don't know him. Maybe not
mm,
living through the guilt or the regret of what happened in the past and being
mm,
able to just be here with you today. And for you to be able to do your own work,
mm,
whatever that is, and to just be with the relationship. Because if you two can just be with each other, then you'll truly get to know who you both are versus him seeing you as the daughter that he disappointed and hurt, and you possibly seeing him as the father who disappointed you and hurt
right.
you.
Well, guys, that's the end of the show.
That's okay. You can cut all this out if you need
Right.
to. Do whatever you
That's it.
do,
I got my
whatever.
free session.
Just cut it all out. No, we really have to accept people for who they are,
No,
not for
you're
what
right.
not for who we want them to be. And
Hmm.
I think that that's true in every relationship, not the, you know, the sensitivity of the two relationships that you and I are sharing. But I think in all relationships, accept people for who they are, not
Yeah.
for who you want them to be. Some people, you can close the door on them, but you know they're coming back. That's parents, you know, and children. Like those familial relationships
Right.
are for the rest of our lives. And I think that forgiveness and not holding people forever accountable
Mm,
while also honoring the way that we've been hurt and the
hmm.
experience. It was not easy to live without my mother as a child, or to have to parent myself in that way. It was not
Right.
easy. It wasn't easy to step into relationships later on as a woman, not
Hmm.
having witnessed a relationship between my father and my mother. You
Mm,
know, those things were not easy. And I think that it was once I was able to really see and console and acknowledge the
mm,
little girl, the little Lisane, the 6 year old, the seven, the 10, and really just kind of give her a nod of acknowledgement.
right.
It wasn't until I was able and willing to do that that those feelings kind of dissipated and allowed me to step more fully into my present moment.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. Well, I know
Yeah.
who to call when I'm having some daddy problems.
Girl, please call me. Please call me. I would be honored.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Do you think we would ever get your family story in full, or is it even possible? Because I feel like your family story is so rich and is so layered.
I mean, I think if you went to the exhibition, that was our family story from the perspective of Jean-Michel.
Hmm.
If you read the catalog that Shanine and I authored, King Pleasure
Hmm.
catalog, it was less an art catalog, although it had all of the art from the show in there, but it was also a walk through our life and our history.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that it's in pieces, just like everybody else's life. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. You can't imagine telling the story of an entire line of ancestors through one thing. That's just one lens, one moment. I think it's pieces. I think it's
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah.
Grief doesn't have a timeline. So how has your relationship with loss shifted over the years?
I think you have the initial shock
Yeah.
and grief, and then over time it evolves because we evolve as human beings. So when
Hmm.
my sister and I, when Janine and I were working on the King Pleasure exhibition, we got down to coming up with the details for this book, and also putting the exhibition together opened up another layer of the
Hmm.
grief, but it felt different. It was deeper,
Mm-hmm.
And it also felt different because I had changed, I had evolved, I was sitting in a different seat at that time.
Right.
Um, and it also, that particular exhibition really opened up the door to my ability to process my own loss, because
Mm-hmm.
I kind of bowed to the loss that my parents experienced, because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like my loss can never be what theirs is because this is their
They lost a
child.
child. Right.
Yeah, and so in a lot of ways I kind of repressed allowing myself to fully experience that grief. And it came up. It came up during the creation of that exhibition. And it felt good. It was deep and it was painful,
Mm-hmm.
um, emotionally painful, but it was an incredible release because I was able to release something that I didn't even know fully was there. And
Yeah,
so it just helped me to see. I think grief is an interesting thing,
it
and
is.
it evolves over time.
Yeah, one minute you're crying, next minute you're laughing, next minute you're talking to yourself like grief, what have you on a roller
What do you
coaster.
do? Yes, but showing up for it and being willing to process
Mm-hmm.
is the best way, in my opinion, of processing grief. I think what hurts is,
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, resistance to things. And as it relates to grief, what hurts is when we try to hold it back, act like
Yeah.
it's not there, act like it's not there, or try to shove it down. It's not always the appropriate moment, um, to fully express it. But today, what I've learned how to do, and there are a lot of different kinds of grief, but what I've learned how to do
Mm-hmm.
with regard to grief about anything, not just my brother, or is if I can't express it or allow it to be released in that moment, I make sure that I give honor to that grief that wants to come out. So there,
Mm.
it happened a couple of weeks ago, and it wasn't like a big grief. It wasn't death or anything like that. It was just about some other things, and I could feel it coming up. And there was a moment where I couldn't really express it. But I'll tell
Mm.
you this, I got myself a bathtub running that night. I put some
Okay.
Epsom salts up in that thing. I lit myself a Shaping Freedom candle, small plug for my Shaping Freedom candles.
Yes.
I lit myself a soothed candle, Shaping Freedom candle. I
Mm-hmm.
turned the lights off in my bathroom and I went to town and cried my behind off. I cried.
Yeah.
And I got out and it was like, okay.
You
And
need
and
that
and
release.
I needed that release,
Mm-hmm.
and don't let the world and the circumstances of the world convince you that you don't have time to address yourself, to
Mm.
address what you need. And by doing that, the next day, I went to sleep. I slept like a baby that night. But the next day,
You
the
always sleep
next
good when you done cried your
I,
eyes out, right?
I'm telling you, and some magnesium, those Epsom salts, all of
Right.
that, perfect, perfect. But I'll tell you this, you walk lighter when you're willing to receive, when you're willing to process your grief, when you're
Mm-hmm.
willing to process the things that are bothering you, when you're willing to give stage and give space to those things,
Mm.
you travel lighter. That's what freedom is truly about from my perspective. That a mental and emotional freedom comes when you cleanse those
Mm-hmm.
emotions, you cleanse those things out the same way that you would take a broom and sweep your bathroom floor. Like, we got to
Yeah.
keep things clean, and we clean all the external things. We brush our teeth every morning. We take a
Mm-hmm.
shower, hopefully, right?
Yeah, because
But then
some
we
people don't shower, but
I
that's
know
another
that's what I'm
conversation.
saying. That's another conversation.
Right.
But we need to spend more time and energy on cleansing the parts of us that people don't see,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because we're feeling it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
bogging us down, and you are showing up with all of that. So other people are experiencing it, the bad breath of your bad emotions, even if they're experiencing it because we're not cleansing ourselves of it.
Yeah. I feel like you are a very spiritual person.
I am.
Throughout this entire process, because now we're going to touch on you and your sister managing the estate, did you ever feel Jean Michel's energy or spirit, or did you ever feel your parents' spirit around
Yeah.
you?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I can call upon that. Yeah.
Mm. So what were some of the early lessons you learned when you began managing the estate? And was it hard for you to step out from your private life to now
It was
being in the
challenge.
spot?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if I'm in the spotlight, but
Come
it
on,
was
you in the
challenging.
spotlight.
It was challenging at first. It was challenging at first. I think that the my father did a really good job of protecting us and
Mm,
allowing us to create the lives that we want to live. I went and I started in corporate, which is I worked in corporate for a long time, and I was in executive leadership, and
mm,
I had the ability to go out and build my own career. I became a coach after my corporate life, or in parallel with my corporate life in the beginning. And I was able to build a career, build a life, prove myself to me.
mm,
And I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity.
mm,
I wasn't focused on my brothers. I was focused on my brother as a part of my family, but it wasn't like I'm a Basquiat, Jean-Michel's sister, because I've always been a Basquiat. Like
right.
it wasn't that. And stepping into the role that my sister and I stepped into when my father passed away was it was challenging. It was big. It was there was a lot uh, that I did not know and was not prepared for. But what I did realize is that my father, who talked a lot and shared a lot, he never sat down, which is what I wanted,
Mm,
right? This is kind of goes back to the conversation we had before. In my mind, I wanted my father to sit me down
right.
like Lawrence Fishburne and Boys in the Hood
Right.
and be like, daughter, let me tell you about life, right?
Right.
That did
Because you
not
think you know.
happen
Right.
because you think you know, right? That did not happen. But what I realized when I gave up on that, right? When I stopped playing that narrative, like, I wish he would have, and why didn't he? And when I gave up on that, it was just like, okay, let me just look at life for what it is. Let me look at the situation for what it was is.
Mm,
Um, I started to realize that he had,
mm,
but it was a conversation over dinner, a remark that he made, something
mm,
he said about a person, something he shared with me about, someone who had reached out to him. And so I realized that I really had everything that I needed. And, but it was challenging because managing the estate of Jean-Michel Basquiat means protecting his legacy as an artist, and it also means that it has put me and my sister and our family into this kind of place where people believe that they have the right to give big, huge, sweeping opinions about what you're doing with
mm,
this treasure, this cultural treasure that is Jean Michel. Um, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. Um, Couple of things. One is to always remember that this is about Jean Michel. This is for Jean Michel. I'm talking specifically about managing his estate. It's about Jean
mm-hmm,
Michel. It's for Jean Michel. And one of the things that Janine and I try to do is to do what we believe Jean Michel would want us to do.
mm-hmm,
That has kept us really in a place where we feel congruent with our decisions
mm,
and in integrity with our brother's legacy. Um, I also learned the importance of building my own life and
mm.
not getting lost in Jean Michel's legacy. So there's
That's
Jean
real.
Michel's legacy. It has to be. There's Jean
Yeah.
Michel's legacy, and there's the work that we're doing on his behalf. And then there's Lisane.
Mm-hmm,
And it was very important to me that I still did the things that were important to me and that I still lived up to and work and hone my assignment on this
mm.
planet.
And that's why I respect your story so much because I feel like to be able to do what you do on top of managing this enormous legacy, like that's a lot. and then you have these businesses, and then you telling me you a grandma. It's just like, how are you navigating all this stuff? You got your own day, like it's just like, who are you? Are you Superwoman?
No, no, there's a through line,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so in the beginning, I did feel very scattered. I don't want to pretend. I think sometimes we want people to show up on the other side of the journey, and we look at that as like, oh, okay, she did it super simple. It's not, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't easy. It was simple, but it wasn't easy. And in the beginning, I realized I have 𝐼𝐻𝐫𝐬𝐵, which is a female focused and very inclusive and welcoming um, business accelerator and co-working space and member community for entrepreneurs, helping
Mm-hmm.
people grow and scale their business. There's Shaping Freedom, which is a personal growth company. I have products and all of that. There's My Brother's Estate. And then there was the production that Janine and I pulled together for in support of Jean-Michel. The through line of all of that is family legacy.
Mm.
You know, Shaping Freedom is about the work that you do within yourself to heal yourself up, to resolve and bring to completion those things that stand in your way so that you can show up in a more positive way and contribute to your family legacy. A
Yeah.
lot of the reasons why people don't move forward, or the reasons why our families, and by our I mean anyone's family, don't move forward, has more to do with emotional and mental stuff,
Mm.
burnout, not setting boundaries, not
Burnout.
being able to clearly communicate, not being able to express the ways that we truly feel, because
Mm-hmm.
we uh, are put into these environments where we can't tell the truth, or where we allow
Mm.
ourselves to not tell the truth. Um, that's Shaping Freedom. 𝐼𝐻𝐫𝐿𝐵 is about the legacy of being able to live your dreams and having community and support to help you to live your dream and curate your professional and entrepreneurial dream. And then there's the work that you already know about with My Brother's Estate. So that's how I'm able to do the number of things that I do, because it's not this kind of disjointed thing.
Right.
It is all about the reason that I was put on this planet. And I truly believe that my assignment is to help human beings to be in a better relationship with themselves so that they can help their families. And we talk a lot about generational wealth,
Mm-hmm.
but you can have all of the financial wealth in the world if
Mm.
you do not have within your family unit, even if your family is just you, if you do not have emotional and mental strength, resilience, and
Mm-hmm.
wealth, none
Mm-hmm.
of that matters, because you're not going to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, that was a bar. That was a
Yeah.
bar. Wow. So, what has entrepreneurship taught you about trusting your own voice?
Everything. But
Yeah.
everything, everyone has an opinion about things, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Everyone.
There are a lot of experts out there. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
folks who know what they're doing. You can't do it all by yourself. You have to have a team. You have to have a team of people that you trust,
Mm-hmm.
who believe in the product, the person, whatever the thing that you're building that team around. If you have people around
Mm-hmm.
you that don't believe in you, they have to leave. They cannot be there. It doesn't mean they're horrible people. You can do it with kindness, but the boundary is you have to have support. You have to have a support system, and you have to have a team of people around you. Some are friends, some are family, some are, people who are working with you. Have that team of people around you. But at the end of the day, you own that situation. So while you have a team of experts, you have to trust yourself enough to be able to state what you want and what you need. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to you,
Yeah.
you know?
What do you think your parents and Jean-Michel would say about how you and your sister is carrying the family name?
Oh, I think they would be thrilled. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because y'all not playing.
I mean, I will share this, and I don't talk about this very much, but my
Oh, I
brother,
feel special.
you
Thank
are.
you.
I'm enjoying this conversation with you.
Me too.
Um, Jean-Michel was the last male Basquiat. and he didn't have
Mm,
children.
mm,
So his name, I mean, I'm a Basquiat too, but his name was the last in the lineage, in our lineage.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow. That
So
gave me chills.
I know he took the Basquiat's out with a bang.
Right.
Um,
I was like, come on.
it's like we gonna do this. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I think they'd be proud. I think they'd all be very happy and proud. I think that the other part of it, and I would be remiss if I didn't say also that you cannot, when you want to be up to big things, when you want to do huge things, and when you want to make huge impact, the need, the it is critical that you also have self-care, that you
Mm,
take care of yourself, and that you balance things out. So I go hard. And most of the time, I don't always do it, but most of the time, I make sure that I have that the pendulum is swinging both ways to keep my life in harmony.
you
So
have to.
if I need a minute, I take a minute. If people are, because there's a party every day. If someone's reaching out, and I'll have friends who are like, "Girl, come out, let's party." I'm like, "No, I need a minute."
Yeah.
And I take that minute. So I think you have to listen to yourself and use your self as the barometer for how you're
Mm,
going to uh, show up in the world, and also staying focused. If
mm-hmm.
you want something done, it's not an Instagram selfie. I'm so sorry to say it. That's not it. It's
Yeah.
hard work, it's
It's hard
learning.
work.
Yeah, it's hard work, and you got to stay at it, and you have to be focused. You
Yeah.
have to be focused.
That's a fact. We're almost finished, but I just want to touch on the hard work because I think a lot of times when people see, yourself, or even with me when I join my network, like it's blood, sweat, and a lot of tears, a lot of glasses of wine.
That's
like,
right.
like it's
That's
a lot of
right.
work to live out the
That's
dreams
right.
that only you can see.
That's right. And other people don't always. That's why you have to have only people. Let me tell you something. The people in my world, my
Mm,
friends, my family members, definitely my kids, they are like my biggest cheerleaders. My team, we all care about each other.
yeah.
Our hearts are in it, right? And what people see is Eboné with a mic. They
Hmm.
don't see everything it took for you to get to the space that you're in. All the
Facts.
moments where maybe you wanted to go and party and do
Or
whatever,
quit.
or just
Right.
be like, you know what, later for all of y'all and all of this, I'm gonna go and work at a bank or whatever the thing is, right?
Right.
People don't see that. Not that they necessarily have to see it, but I think that, but it's important to understand that there is a journey. And if you are going
Mm,
to be, we have to set ourselves up for success. And people
hmm.
don't see the things that we're doing behind the scenes to make sure that we can show up in these ways that you're showing up. So it's hard work. It's
Yeah.
hard work.
It really is because I be feeling like a $2 street walker at times. Like that's how
Listen,
hard I be working.
listen, I feel plucked. I cannot tell
Okay.
you. I cannot. And I'm like, what? And then
Right.
I have to stop. And I'm like, okay, this is my dream, right? I want this. Like, there's nobody coming for me that I have
Right.
not
Like this
asked.
is what you want.
This is, yeah, like I forget that it's like me, right? Like it's not, it's me. And I'm very blessed, and feel great that I have the ability to say that it's me, right? Like this is the life that I've wanted to live in terms of
Mm,
doing this work and being an entrepreneur, and all of that. And for me, it's been finding amazing people that
yeah.
understand that I don't have to defend myself to. I don't
Mm,
have to have
that
those
part.
conversations. Yeah, where people are just like, you're fine. Look at you. You know, I remember once
Right.
I was on vacation. I was in Costa Rica with a friend of mine, Nicole, and we had gone to Costa Rica, and it was during a week where it rained all week long.
Hmm.
And we were having fun anyway. So we had like wine, and we were like dancing in the rain, and I was like doing some dances or whatever.
You was
And we put
twerking?
it online. I was twerking or something. Whatever,
Right.
whatever. I don't know if it was technically a twerk, but
But you
it
was
felt
doing
like it was.
something.
I was doing
Right.
something. I was moving. And people were like, girl, it looks like so much fun or whatever. And then someone said, must be nice.
Mm,
And I had a moment Must be nice. Most of us can't afford to, something like that. And I had a moment, like it was like 30 seconds. And I was like, wow,
Mm.
wow. What is, why can't you don't know anything about this trip, how I got on it, how much it costed? Like
Like
you just
what's
got on.
nice?
Like, what is that? Like, what does
Right.
that mean? And so I think that it's important. And that again was a random kind of thing online, but I think it's important for me, it
Mm.
has been very important to surround myself with people who see me,
Mm.
people who see me, the human being
Man,
that I am, a mother, a leader, a friend, a grandparent,
see
a
you and
parent.
not what you do.
See me, not what I do, not what they
Mm.
believe they think my life is about. I'm sitting here in my office on an angle because I got these two things here because I couldn't drag them out. And I didn't think that you were even going to see it. So now it's a bit of a mess, but that's okay. And
Oh
so
my
for
God,
those,
it is not a mess, y'all.
it's a bit mess. Well, this is in videos. I forgot that it wasn't video until later on, but I will say this, the two works that I have behind me, one is by Ainsley Burroughs, an amazing artist, amazing Ainsley Burroughs, and the other one is Ronnie Robb, who is an
And that
artist as
couch
well.
is beautiful.
I know, I love that couch. I love that.
No, that couch is, that's what
That's
I've been looking at. I'm like, what is that?
I'll tell you offline because I don't want no I don't know haters coming up. But it's the most comfortable in the middle of the day when I'm just trying to get my thoughts together, or
Hmm.
where I'm like, who can I talk to? I just, who do I know, or who do I know who might know someone who can help
Mm.
me to solve this business problem? That's lay on that couch right there.
Yeah, I can tell.
And a
I can
20-minute
tell.
nap in the middle of the day does wonders. It's like I have to
Right,
say.
right. Throughout your journey managing the estate, you building these businesses, you preserving your legacy, you doing so much. What is the one
Thank you.
thing that you learned about yourself that has surprised you?
Okay. What I've learned about myself that has surprised me is that I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of internal work.
Mm,
And the thing about doing your internal work is that you, the more work you do, the less tolerant you can be about your own nonsense or BS. And
mm,
so what that has done for me is I've become and am very selective about my time, about my energy, about who I'm going to be around. I'm single about who I'm going to date.
okay, she outside,
Um,
y'all.
I'm inside. I'm outside, kind of. Now you're gonna make me blush. I don't know
Right,
why I
she
get so funny
blushing.
about the part. I'm blushing.
Listen.
But what I have learned is what I has surprised me in a nice way, in a great way,
Mm,
is how congruent I am, and
mm,
how in integrity with myself I am. And so what that means is
I like that.
I may not, I may not, I'm very careful and selective about what I do, where I put my time and my energy, including the amount of time that I'm going to be, you know, out in the streets, right? I'm not
Hmm.
wasting a lot of time because have, because I'm up to something. And so if people are in my world, it's because we trust each other,
Yeah.
and and we don't have to perform. My friend circle, there's no performance. It's just showing up and being who we are. And I think the thing that surprised me is that I can be as clear about my boundaries as I am.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
we have a few listeners' questions because I was just bragging because I'm like, listen, I have legacy on my show, okay?
You got
But
questions? Okay.
yes, so Kia from Brooklyn is curious to know how you feel and how would Jean Michel feel about his work becoming so commercialized? His work always involved Black social commentary at the root, and now 𝐿𝐮 has his work on a $12 hoodie. I say, girl, do not get me cursed out on my show. But what are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, who has their work on a $12 hoodie?
Jean-Michel
Oh,
on 𝐿𝐮. 𝐿𝐮 is using his work on a $12 hoodie. Or you didn't know about that?
I'll ask you about that later. But
Oh,
so
here we go.
here's what I think about the to answer that question. I've had that question asked. My sister has it asked a lot also. And this
Mhm,
is what I'm going to say. The estate of Jean-Michel Basquiat exists to preserve the legacy of Jean-Michel.
mhm,
Okay. And for those folks who are troubled by or who claim that my brother wasn't, that he would be upset at the commercialization of his works, I will say this. Number one, it takes money to run an estate.
mhm,
It takes money. And I think people don't connect those dots. The second thing is that there are so many people who respect Jean Michel, who are inspired by him, who really see him as a cultural role model,
mhm,
who do not have the ability to go out and buy a painting by Jean-Michel Basquiat.
mm,
So what's referred to, and I'm putting this up in air quotes, as the commercialization of Jean-Michel's artwork is actually an opportunity to own an image of
mm.
Jean-Michel's, to own his art in a way that is accessible to people who may not otherwise be able to afford it.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
for the person who is able to go and get a t-shirt and wear that t-shirt and spend whatever they spend on that t-shirt, it gives them the ability to have that connection to Jean-Michel. It gives the person who chooses to buy, a Coach bag. When we were running that one, I
Hmm.
know many, many people who have walked up to me and said, look at what I have. I have this bag. I love this purse because it's your brother's art on it. So
Mm.
I don't know about the specifics of what you just said, but
But not what I just
I
said, what
think
Kia
Shamsh,
said.
yeah, I think
Don't put me in that. I'm just a
Kia.
liaison between you and
No,
Kia.
that's okay. Kia, actually, I think that best case scenario, Jean-Michel would be here himself,
Mm,
but this is where we are.
right.
And the ability to license his work means that as a family, we can preserve his artwork
Hmm.
and not go into the streets and sell his artwork, and we're able to hold on to it and and help to leverage his artwork while still retaining it. You look at the long list of stories of people who were in the public eye who pass away,
Mm,
and then the next thing you know, the family has no control over what has happened
that's a
with
fact.
what that person left behind. This is what we chose to do, and this is what we chose to do.
Yeah. Hanifa from Brooklyn wanted to know, what would you say to him if he were here today? Like, what's a conversation that you would love to have with him right now?
Oh my gosh. Don't get me started. What I would say, what we would talk about what's happening in the world. Honestly,
Yeah.
we would talk about what's happening in the world. We would um, social media and
Hmm.
what, some of what's happening there. Although I think Joseph Jean-Michel was like the first poster ever. He was the first because his work is like these social posts, right?
Right.
Um, I think we would just talk about what's happening in the world and what's happening in each other's lives. We would laugh. We laughed a lot. We just hang out just like anyone else would with their brother. I miss him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
miss
No,
him.
I already know. I can already tell. Aja from Memphis said, what's a funny childhood memory with Jean Michel that lives rent free in your mind?
My father had a girlfriend that, and my brother decided that for Halloween he was going to take a ventriloquist dummy and put it at the top of the stairs. And Jean-Michel didn't just do like a regular old prank. You know, his pranks were elaborate, very dramatic. There were productions, and he took this ventriloquist dummy. I don't know how he did it, but he like backlit it, and then he turned off all the lights, and he waited until this my father's girlfriend was walking up the stairs,
Nah.
and she walked up the stairs, and this ventriloquist dummy is sitting like on a chair at the top of the stairs, and it's backlit, and then he does something so that the mouth is moving, and it's saying, you know, whatever it was that it was saying to her, and it freaked her
She could have hurt
out.
herself.
Well, I know. He didn't think about any of that stuff, but no, that I mean, he was he just like did things, and they were elaborate. They were like production like things.
Right.
So that's one of many. I mean, there's so many things that Jean-Michel. Yeah, so many.
Okay, two more and then we are done. Charlotte from Chicago wants to know, do you ever feel like it's a blessing and a burden having the Basquiat name?
Yes, it's a blessing. No, it's not a burden. I think there are things that happen in life that we have to do. And I don't always, like I was saying before, there are times a day where maybe I don't feel like doing something, but I have always been very, very proud of being Lisane Basquiat. And I mean, from the time I was a little girl before Jean-Michel did what he did, our name and the importance of a name was instilled in us when we were very, very young. And so always, like I always walked with pride about the fact that I am Lisane Basquiat. That's who I am. My name means a lot to me. But the
Yeah.
burden, I don't see it as a burden. I see it as this is the assignment that God
Mm,
has for me. This
yeah.
life, this life right here, to be a first generation uh, daughter of a Haitian father, a Puerto Rican mother, a Black Puerto Rican mother from Brooklyn. Um, to grow up in Brooklyn, to experience the things that I experienced being the daughter of a single parent who happened to be a man,
Mm,
to living in Puerto Rico as a child for a few years and having my brother be who he was and do what he did. Um, this is all of this is my assignment. And so you can't part with some of it because then the whole story changes. And
right.
it's a story that I'm very interested in. And I know that I have um, agency
Mm,
in how I walk this story. Some aspects of the story, like my brother passing away and all this happening, weren't expected and weren't planned. But
right.
so I can't control that. But what I can control and have, what I do control and pay attention to is how I'm going to walk this journey.
Yeah.
So no, I don't see it as a burden. I don't see life as a burden. I see life as a set of challenges, lots and lots of challenges,
Lots of
and
challenges.
lots of opportunity. Yeah, and lots of opportunity because most
Mm-hmm.
of the things that we see as burden or, you know, are really there to teach us something if we're only willing to open ourselves up to the ability to learn.
Yeah. You know, how many times when you paying for something with your credit card, people look at you and then look at the credit card and they look at you and they be like, Basquiat, Basquiat. Like,
All the time,
right.
all the time, all the time. I'll give you a really quick story. One time I was at a supermarket in New Jersey. I was at a supermarket in New Jersey, and this is like 18 years ago. And I was in the store with someone, and I walked over to the counter, and it was the counter, the deli counter.
Hmm.
And I walked over, and I guess I gave the person my credit card. And the person says to me, "Oh, are you related to the famous artist?" And I said, "Yes." And he he said, "Oh, how are you related?" I said, "My brother." And he said, "Oh yeah, um, my what did he say? My roommate said that he was just hanging out with him last week or something."
Last week.
So I said, "What?" he said, yeah, I was just hanging out with him. Yeah, he was just hanging out with him last week. They were at a party or whatever. And I looked at him because I was like, this person has to be joking or trying to be funny. And I said, are you serious? And he says, yeah. And I said, your roommate? He said, yeah. I said, are you pulling my leg? And he said, no, really. And I said, so how have you heard about this artist? And he said, no, I
Mm.
just hear about him here and there. And I said, oh, okay. I think you should go look the artists up. I think before you throw a name
Right.
around,
Because
I
last
think you
week,
should go. I think you should.
like, where
I
is
think
he? Please let me know.
I think you should go. I think you should go look him up because it's like Tupac, right? I'm like, go look this up, his story
Right.
up, because you got this story isn't making sense to me. So yeah, people do all the time.
People are
Yeah,
bugged out. I'm telling you.
they are. They
Only
are.
in the tri-state area.
I don't know. I think it's all over the world. I think it's all, but the tri-state area is very quite special.
And last but not least, Mel
Yes,
from
ma'am.
Queens wants to know, how do you think your brother would have been on social media?
Um,
I feel like he would have been flexing.
oh, well, what I was the first thing that came up, the first thing that came up was Jean-Michel would blow up anything that he decided to get involved in. Anything that was of interest to him, Jean-Michel was going to do it and he was going to do it. So on social media, I think that if he chose to be participating, he would absolutely blow it up because people, yes, he's an artist, but people really wanted to know what he had to say,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
he had a lot to say. So I think he'd be having a good time on social media.
Yeah, he'd be on the shade
Yeah.
room so many times.
He would. He would. He would. He
Oh
would.
my God, this has been a treat. I can't express to you and your team how much this really means to me, and just seeing a reflection on myself and you, and just seeing how you are able to navigate so many different worlds have been beyond inspiring. So I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ebony. This was like talking to a friend. I really appreciate how welcoming you've been and how kind you've been. So this has felt good to me. I appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you. And I guess I tell my daddy I talked about him on the show to you.
You should tell your daddy you talked about, and just, you all give yourself some time, give some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell the people where we can follow you at. How can we support you? Let us know about your info.
Thank you. So I have the Shaping Freedom podcast, the Shaping Freedom with Lisane Basquiat podcast that's available
Mm-hmm.
on all platforms. You can buy some products from the shop.shapingfreedom.com website. I have candles, beautifully curated candles. I'm going to send you some.
Yay.
Eboné, yoga mats. I have journals coming, and I'm doing a capsule collection of t-shirts coming, and I also have some meditation pillows. With
Yes.
that in mind, I'm pointing to the couch behind me. I don't know when this is going to air, but I have programs and workshops running all the time. And there is one coming up called the Best Year Ever, excuse me, workshop, running it on April 26th online and also on May 1st. So we have two dates for that. It's online, it's 2 hours. It's for those folks who set out with an intention at the beginning of the year, and here we are in April and they're like, I don't even know where
Right.
I am. So so it's a workshop geared toward helping you to get back on track and to course correct if that's what you need to do. And you can support me by following me on all the platforms, Shaping Freedom. I'm on all the social media platforms, and just tell somebody if you know of folks who could use some help with the things that we just talked about. Send them over.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And this is the epitome of what my motto is all about. Please make sure you share your storylines, because you never know how it can be somebody else's lifelines. So
Yeah.
thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, Lisane Basquiat.
Yes. Thank you.
Until next time, everyone. Later. You gonna say bye?
Bye. I didn't know. Sorry.